Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Thursday Lunch and Learn here with Purse Strings. My name is Maggie. I'm a partner at Purse Strings. Just a quick reminder, we're here all to provide free financial tools and resources. Just get some education because we know education is so important. Knowledge is power. But then when you need a professional to go to put things in transaction or transition, we have our Purse Strings approved professionals willing, ready, and able to work with you. We have realtors. We have wealth advisors, we have attorneys, we have lenders, we have FAs, everybody that you're looking for. So no matter where you are on your trajectory, we have professionals here to work with you. So today we are talking about investing in real estate and kind of those different opportunities there. We're so excited to have Terri Copeland here with us today. So Terri, for those who don't know you, could you give a little introduction about yourself?
Yes, so my name is Terri Copeland. My title is I prefer as real estate wealth advisor. My goal is to help, especially understand homeownership opportunities or investing opportunities to grow wealth for whatever the reason or the season is in their life.
Awesome. That's so exciting. And so I know you are in Georgia, correct? Are you in Atlanta?
Correct. I'm in Atlanta and Atlanta proper. I'm in the Buckhead area is where I live, but my office is in town close to Ansley Mall, but I do service all of Metro Atlanta. So as far north as Woodstock and as far south as McDonough, Georgia.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we're so excited to have you here today and talk about some real estate investing. And so do you want to, we could start with some of your slides and then I can throw you some more questions at the end.
Sounds good. Do you see me or the slides right now?
I just pulled up the slides so we could see both of you as well. We could see both of you.
Okay, great. Okay. Because I don't see anything on my end but the slides, so that's good. So greetings, everyone. So excited to be here today and share about women investing in real estate. And we'll get right to it. I won't hold you too long and bore you, but I'll just catch the surface stuff. The most important information I'm going to deliver will be for those who are first time, they're thinking about it, they're on the fence about investing and not sure, or you already have an asset, have a single family home or maybe a multifamily, trying to figure out what to do with it. So the first step is if you don't own a property at this time and you've been looking at purchasing, being an owner occupant or an investment property, the first thing is from the movie Buyer, I always say, show me the money. That's the most important first step. Show me the money. And a lot of buyers get frustrated. Why do I have to show them the money? I just saw this property. I thought it was great. I want to see if it works. I mean, why should I go ahead and pull the trigger and have my credit pulled until I know for sure I even like the house? Well, it's a huge mistake to show you something that may not be in your price range. So that's why it's really important to determine right here how much money the bank will lend you. So it's not fair to show you something 500,000 where all the time we should have been looking at things for 350, and now we've missed that window of opportunity and something could have already gone under contract. So it's always important your first step, owner occupying, just buying for yourself, investing, know how much the bank is willing to lend you. Now to the right of the screen here, you see the financing options, FHA, conventional, and VA. So now it's really important to understand like the beauty of investing right now is still a great opportunity if you can do FHA or conventional. I'm going to talk a little bit about the market today as well. It is hard to do an FHA right now. Why is that? Sellers don't like it because for some reason, if the property doesn't appraise for the purchase price, FHA guidelines require that any other FHA buyer must buy the house at that appraised value. Conventional lending is different. If it doesn't appraise, both parties can walk away, but there's not the stigmatism of the value on the asset. So sellers prefer conventional or cash deals. Now, the beauty of buying your first property as an invest and eventually using for investing is the percentage of entry to purchase. 3.5% or 3 to 5% down is much better than 10 to 25%, depending on the bank and their requirements to buy a property just straight for investing. And as you see here, if you have a VA loan that you can utilize, that's 100% financing. So here are great ways you can actually be an investor owner with as little down 3.5 and 3 to 5% or even 100%. Now, matching up the type of percent or financing with the property is the challenge in today's market. So how does one get into being quote unquote an investor starting? What's the best way to do it? Single family with a full basement is a great starter. You can live upstairs and rent out your basement and use one of those loan products I just showed you. So in this situation, you're actually going to be living in the same structure or building where you will also have your occupant. It's really important to look for a basement that has its own exterior entry and basement is full, so that way you have at least a bedroom, bathroom, a whole living area, and can do a kitchenette. So with that in today's market, especially like in the southeastern part of the country, those rents go anywhere from like $1,000 to $2,000, depending on where the property is located. Now, another option some people are okay with, I don't mind having a roommate and doing a roommate floor plan. So that's a floor plan where as you enter the front door, you have an open living room, dining room area, and kitchen, and the bedrooms are either side. So that way you can have privacy from potential roommate if you decide to have a roommate situation. That is more ideal for someone if you already have a roommate and you guys are sharing an apartment. Your roommate's not ready to buy a home, but you are. So let's say you qualify and find a roommate floor plan. You can bring your roommate along with you, help offset the cost of home ownership. So now you have a property that you're going to be able to own. You can build equity and leverage the equity for anything in the future, college education, for retirement, starting a building. So having that roommate move in with you helps a lot. And sometimes you charge enough, you may not have to pay anything at all outside of utilities. So sometimes the rent can be equivalent to the actual mortgage payment, and that allows you to save the rest of your money. So that's another ideal situation. Last but not least is auxiliary dwelling unit. So I apologize, I got the letters backwards, but it should have been ADU versus AUD, but an ADU. ADUs are really popular, and now most cities are adding that to legislation, allowing owners to create an ADU in the back of their home. So let's say you have a long, narrow lot and you've got a half an acre in the back. If your city allows you to do an additional unit, that unit can be used for a long-term tenant. You could do whatever you want with that. It could be Airbnb, it could be college student housing. You could even provide housings for seniors. So it gives you the opportunity to utilize your property, not have the person share the same structure with you, but have them in the back of your home. So that's another way to create an investment opportunity. Now, condos and townhomes can be a great opportunity as well. I lived in a 4-level townhome. The bottom level, 4th level, actually had its own entry, so we never had to run into the tenants. So we used it for both long-term rental and short-term rental. The key here, though, is making sure that you check the covenants or HOA guidelines to make sure there are no rental restrictions. Usually, if there are rental restrictions, that means that you have to be there along with the tenant to make it work. But if you leave the property and leave for a tenant only in the restrictions, you could actually suffer from fines from the HOA. Now, depending on the cost of the fines, it might be worth the penalty if you're still making enough money. I've seen places they only charge you $25 a month for a violation. I've seen as high as $25 a day. So weigh the penalty against the income to see if it's worth doing. And parking. Parking is definitely an important thing if you're going to have a condo or townhome investment property where you're going to have that opportunity. You have to make sure there's ample parking, and sometimes it's kind of tough with condos and townhomes. Another tip about HOAs and covenants, as soon as you move in, even if you don't have the intention for making an investment property, it's a really good idea to go ahead and add your property to the rental list. Why is that? I've run into a situation where I wanted to rent, but I wasn't high enough on the rental list, I had to wait. If I had gone ahead and had myself on the list early on and made myself a tenant, it would have been very easy to switch from myself to someone. How does that work? You can actually create an LLC that you as the owner are renting the property from and list yourself as the tenant to allow you that opportunity to make your property a rental home, but it would be considered a corporate lease. So corporate leasing to yourself could be another great opportunity. So that way you can parlay from that to a true renter when the time comes, or if you ever have to do it. So it's a great way to kind of plan ahead and be proactive. Now, here's some other opportunities. I'm not sure if any of you out there listening have these in your city, but live workspaces are great. So you actually have townhomes that are 2 and 3 level, but the top level has its own back entry through the garage where you can come upstairs to your main entertainment level and bedrooms above. And that first floor is strictly retail. So usually have a walkway, off-street parking, so that could be rented out. So it could either, and that would be for a commercial tenant. So that could be a great thing to do. The only thing is you probably wouldn't want to have a restaurant because you may not want to smell it all the time, the food being cooked, but maybe having a jewelry store, a spa, a law firm, a real estate office, insurance company. There are so many other options for that first floor commercial space. So that could be another great live work space, could turn into great money for a good commercial lease. Last but not least on my list is multifamily. So it's really important that you determine that the multifamily property is actually zoned. So how does one do that? The property is even zoned for multifamily. So usually I know here in Atlanta, it usually has an R4 zoning. So what if it's a rooming house or some kind? Sometimes things can be grandfathered in. So I would say check with your city that you're in, see if properties that you're looking at can be grandfathered in or already grandfathered in for multifamily. So multifamily, let's sit here for a little bit on that. You can use either the FHA financing or conventional financing for multifamily. It's really important, though, that one of the units has to be vacant. That's the only way it works. One unit has to be vacant. The others can be occupied. The lender, if you already have a tenant, can use the income from that existing tenant to help with leveraging you get it. So say, for example, why it's really important. You are only approved for a house for $300,000, and that's based off your income. Now, if you find a property, let's say it's a duplex, one side is already rented, it has a long-term tenant, tenant's been paying $1,000 a month, that long-term income can be factored in, and then they can do what's called a new evaluation. And so now they can evaluate the how much you can qualify based on the existing income. And it's really important that you receive the current lease to use for your financing. Why is having that lease during due diligence important? Because that lease now becomes your part of your package for being able to purchase beyond what you're approved for. Because technically, if there's proof that that income has been there, that $1,000 a month, that levers you to buy more property. So that is truly a blessing. So it's really important to look for multifamily with one of the units vacant, but it's helpful that the other units already rented and that when it's sold, the other tenant wants to remain in the property. Super important. So now, highest and best use of the property. So as you're looking, we've already talked about the highest and best use a little early in the presentation. What if you want to do a long-term tenant for the duplex side? You may already have a housing voucher client there. What is housing voucher clients? It could be that is Section 8. So it may have a Section 8 tenant, or it could already have what's called a market tenant. So a market tenant is someone who's actually paying the full value of what the market would demand in that unit. Now, the units multifamily that have been coming on the market have been with landlords who may not have increased the rents on their tenants, but they're trying to sell the property for the highest amount. So that's when a real estate agent needs to come in and figure out what's the cap rate. Are you really going to make any money? So you have to figure it out. So that's why it's important to look at the type of tenant you will have coming in and to make sure the evaluation's right. Now, you may want a family member living with you if it's going to be a home that you purchase and the home is a roommate floor plan. You may prefer to have a family member, or it could be that you're in a townhome, they're renting the bottom level. And again, you may want a family member, or you could be close to a college facility or college area, and it could be ideal for college students. So that's another option. And the opportunity of college students, they're not there year round. Majority of the time, college students are usually there for 8 months, and they might want to sublet the space or pay a little bit for you to hold it until the next school year. So that could be another option. And something I don't have on here is crash pads. Some people prefer to rent to people in the airline industry because they know that they're only there for a period of time. They're not there full time. So that's another way to evaluate if you want, what kind of tenant you want is how you want your personal space to be utilized. So the highest and best use of the property and figure out what kind of tenant is really important. Now, what if you decide, I really don't want anybody long-term, I think I'm going to try short-term. Here are your short-term options. Nurses who travel, I have a cousin that is a nurse that travels, who's always looking for a short-term space. So usually they have 6 weeks at a time as their minimum, up to about 3 to 4 months. So you may say, 6 weeks, 3 to 4 months, that could work for me. Then I take a break, then I go do it again. That's one option. Vacation rentals is another. I have Airbnb, and it's been a 2.5-year super host in a row. That's been great because the short-term rentals allow me to block it off when I need to have it available for family and rent it for the other times where I don't need the space. So Airbnb and VRBO are really ideal for that. It gives you more control over when and how your space is to be utilized. Last but not least are insurance companies. So a lot of the time that people have incidences in their home, it could be a fire, small kitchen fire, it could be flooding of a space, and that owner has to move out temporarily. Well, insurance companies may not want to pay a hotel cost, but having negotiated something with an owner where if they're willing to do short-term leases for their insurance clients while their home is being fixed, that's ideal. So they usually rent out to people who have vacation rentals or to apartment communities. They usually have that negotiated. So I want to thank you guys. I wanted to talk too much. I want to make sure that I didn't go overboard, but at this time we can definitely take questions if anybody has any regarding how the rentals work.
Awesome. That was a ton of great content. So I thank you for that.
Yes.
One of the, when
I'm
you're
talking
going
about
through
the
the
share
things,
mode.
say that again.
So I was trying to get out of the share mode. I wasn't sure how to do that. Let's see here.
You were mentioning parking, and something else that just came to my head is laundry and ever a big thing that I always feel like that's always, when I rent a place, it's parking and laundry and kind of how to do. That's also, a big purchase, getting piping and everything in like that. So I don't know why. I just thought that was interesting as well. Those different things that
Yeah,
you're
that's
like,
a really good point.
it turns
No,
big to everyday things,
Mhm. Yeah, and so laundry is definitely important having access. So you have a shared space. It's one of the things you have to make sure that you have access to laundry available. So let's say it's a single family home with a roommate floor plan. The laundry is definitely a common area and working out a laundry schedule. Now with the Airbnb, you don't have to have laundry for short-term rentals usually.
Right.
And so usually they have to find their own. So it's interesting. The space lease from Airbnb has also been long-term rental as well as short-term. And I don't know where they find their laundry, but they will figure it out. So if it's in the right location, because that is actually downtown Atlanta by Bobby Dodd's Georgia Tech football stadium, there is laundry not too far down the street. It's like a mile and a half down. So I'm realizing people will find a way to get their laundry done if you don't have it. Right.
Well,
I don't know about the rest of the country.
Like a shorter term, a couple weeks, I could find a place to do laundry. But if I'm going to move somewhere for 6, 12 months, it's like, I'd rather have it, in the building if I can, or something like that.
So that's why if you have a single family full basement, that's usually ideal. Most homes with basements have some kind of water line at the bottom. So it's a matter of bringing someone in and create the laundry. So when I do consulting, I actually walk through with a client, and I have a lot of people that are trying to figure out how they use their personal home and leverage that for their investment opportunity. So I'm helping everybody with their basements right now, how they can convert it, where the water lines can come to. And then usually what they're doing is a stackable adjoining their kitchenette area. So the kitchenette just needs to have like a convention microwave, so you can cook a lot of things in it. and then a space for things like air fryers, because those are really on trend. And so
Yeah.
you get things like air fryers, a convection oven, you don't need a real stove in this space. And so just having a stackable washer and dryer and a small fridge, you're good to go.
Right. Awesome. And the other great
And I
thing was,
think the cost, and I'm sorry to interrupt. So I was going to say too, I think the biggest thing right now in today's market is like the cost. That makes more sense to take your personal home and try it there first, because by getting the appliances and adding it in, that could be a ballpark about $3,000 to $5,000 to make it a full functional kitchen with bathroom and laundry.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a commitment, when you're going into something like this, to know kind of your long-term plan. But I like, for your example, how you said, you have this extra space. When guests come, you block it off. But otherwise, you could really sell it, which is great, because there's a lot of people who, I think it's, either their kids are, they want a room for when their kids come home or when their families come home. I always see people like on the international travel, and they want all these rooms for all their family to come. I'm like, your family's going to come twice in the whole year. Like, what are you going to do the other? So it's just kind of interesting. That's a great way to kind of get some extra money and use that space as well. Just so it's not collecting dust almost.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because I tell you, people with those extra rooms can make so much money right now. And we're having a housing crisis for affordable housing. So that's one to throw out the ADUs, because they're helping. They're offset a critical issue while they're making money. So it's definitely a win-win with doing the ADUs or creating the roommate floor plans. And one of the groups having a tough time for housing are senior citizens, usually a single woman or a single male over the age of 70. They're having a tough time because they can't manage these houses that they're in. So they can make money off the house that when they sell it, but they have nowhere to go once they do sell it. So that's another critical situation here in the country.
And that's a difficult one, because I feel like if I had an elderly person under my roof, I'd almost feel like I have to take care of them or have an eye on them a little bit, So at what point are they my responsibility versus just a tenant? Just out of human decency,
Yeah.
And not as much as, somebody in their 20s or 30s, So that's a tough one. It really is.
And I think what's happening now is we have more seniors who are really fighting for their independence. So part of that is not to stay with their kids because they're worried that their kids are going to try to take control of their lives, but to be in a space where they can have, it's small, they can manage it, physically keeping it clean, and it's affordable for them, and they keep their independence.
Right. Yeah. So. Nobody wants to move back in with their kids. Doesn't sound like a great time.
Parents are like, I got rid of them. Now I'm going to be the problem. So now parents.
Right.
Like,
and so what, I know your focus is really Atlanta, but what kind of trends have you seen over cities on these, like have these investment opportunities? I'm sure with Airbnb, as big as it's gotten the past 10 years, investment opportunities are really for housing seems to be a lot more common. Kind of using that as your wealth generator more than ever.
Yeah, it's really important. I know Airbnb partnered with the NAACP about a year ago here in Atlanta, and they did it across the country. So it was a pilot program that they've been trying to launch. I'm not sure where they are right now in major cities, to launch as a way of creating an extra stream of income for families who've been struggling. Because there's some families that never really got back on their feet when we had our last inflation and financial crisis. There's still pockets of communities that have not rebounded. So that's to help those communities out. Is there a crisis? Yes. I just got back from the NAREP conference last week from in San Antonio, and I thought it was just only Atlanta. Everyone is struggling with housing, the cost, and trying to find affordable rentals. It's really tough. And it's so bad here that some senior communities are allowing people that are non-seniors to move in because they just can't affordable housing. So it's really tough. And then when I say that there's some slumlord situations, there are communities where now they're going to be displaced and could be homeless in the next 60 days because they can't find anything affordable. But what was affordable was considered slum living, and the judge has actually shut down the entire community. So about 100 families that I know of right now here that are going to be displaced, and we're trying to, through my volunteer organization, figure out how we could help.
Wow. Yeah, I would love to learn more later about how others can help and be kind of part of that solution as well. Because that is, a huge problem. We all need a roof over our head. I mean, that's just, the basics of living. And I personally, I love being able to rent. I'm a renter. And so I love being able to rent from like my neighbor, the local, I rent from a guy who he lives on the main floor. He runs the local painting business, and so it's very communal. And I feel like the money's very genuine rather than having those landlords who are like, there's black mold. Your lease is up in 9 months. Like, keep hanging out,
That's
and
a really
crazy
good
things like
point
that.
you make. No, that is a really good point you make. If we were able to encourage one another to be a landlord, I think there's the fear of the unknown, like, oh, it's going to be scary. It can be with someone you know. It could be a churchman that you're helping out. It could be a friend that you know in college, and they've got a kid who's been going to college in your hometown who needs a place to stay. And it really becomes, as you say, community. So even with my Airbnb, now that I got in trouble with my HOA, that's why I tell you, check the guidelines first so you don't get in trouble. I got a cease and desist. So that's why I've learned how to get around and how to work it in your favor. But I still get calls to this day like, hey, I know you're not up and running. You got a little trouble. You got to find a location. You have a new location, or where can you refer me to? So to your point, it does become a nice community. And I built a rapport with a lot of folks who stayed in my place, and it's just my extended family. And I just love them for it. Yeah, I have people who, when they check out, they're rebooking for the next year. And so that's
awesome.
the fun part about that, building these relationships and knowing these people, and just sitting out on the porch and talking with them. So, it's not a scary thing. It'd be a great place. You just have to know how to vet them.
And I think that's the hardest part. It is that vetting process more than just, your credit score and your previous jobs, but just who they kind of are as a person and how they might take care of, because it is your home at the end of the day. But it is almost like a small business that you have going for yourself, which to me is, really nice rather than giving it to the big builders out there personally.
That's true. That's true. And also I want to mention that with a rent-o-meter. So rent-o-meter is a great tool. If anybody out there is listening and you're trying to figure out what is the market value for my property, let's say if I did 1 bedroom or I did a studio apartment, rent-o-meter is a great tool that anybody can use in the country to gauge what the market is for their property. So it allows you to put it in, and it gives you an average of what the rents have been in the last 6 months to a year. So it's a great way to figure out the math, if it works. That way you can take control of it yourself in the city in which you live. So Rent-O-Meter is a great tool to use. And I'll try to email you some other tools that you guys can put up on your website so that the constituents listening, someone can know how do I get assistance help, or even a landlord that may have been renting, or a tenant out there listening may have been renting. So I'll try to get you you can find some federal information that will show the different states where you can get it. But any state you're in, that community affairs department should be able to give you that money, give you the application process, and give you the money to need to help you in your rental situation, or if you're a landlord, helping out the landlord. So those monies are still out there to all you purse string listeners to take care of yourself in your state, in your community affairs department.
Awesome. Well, I think there's been a ton of great information here. Great ways you can rent, different, formats that's rented in, what these long-term and short-term things look like as well. So there's tons of opportunities out there. I know the market's pretty crazy right now, so it's almost hard to snag something up, I think, but there's so much opportunity, and this can lead to, a great income stream, which is amazing. So do you have any last tips or takeaways you'd like to share today?
The biggest, I think, was don't be afraid. A lot of people are afraid just to put their toe out there, just have a credit pool. Do not be afraid. You'll be surprised. You may surprise yourself. And you will kick yourself in the behind thinking, I could have been making money all this time. So don't shortchange yourself. Go ahead and have your credit pool, because remember, it's not that you can't do it. It's just saying that not today. So the question is, if not today, then what day can you move forward making the offer? So that's why just getting out there and getting pre-approved. And so Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac has a lot of great programs that are out there. There's so many resources to help with down payment in every state. But I would say try that. Also, Rocket Mortgage, don't sleep on them. So a lot of agents say, oh, I hate it. I had a problem getting to closing. Rocket Mortgage has a program, no charge, to get your credit up and running and to get you qualified. What their
Oh,
intent
wow.
is that you use their products. And so now they've just started doing down payment with Rocket Mortgage. So that's another tool. If you need credit help, Rocket Mortgage does it at no charge. And I would tell folks, beware of the for-profit companies that are doing it and paying it monthly. Just get it done for free. And also, too, the reason why it's important to have the lender do it is because the guidelines and underwriting change a lot. And so these for-profit companies, they're not focused on helping you fix your credit to get a loan. And sometimes the things they choose to do could set you back. And so I've had buyers set back 2 years. So I would say let the sleeping dogs lay. So there's certain things in your credit you shouldn't touch, but that's why going to a company like Rocket Mortgage could help you. And so you can reach out to me or reach out to Maggie, and we'll get you with a concierge that can get you in the system and get you started with free, because I love free. And
We
the
love
last thing
free.
is free is fun and great, and just turn into money. Take that free and turn it into money. But the last but not least is, in starting the process, don't shy away from a multifamily opportunity, because I'm talking to myself right now as well. I found a multifamily opportunity that could be great. And I realized if I can figure out how to leverage the current income, I could probably do something twice the amount of money that I'm already approved for, just because there's already a tenant and there's a vacant space, that
Oh,
I can
yeah.
leverage. So do not be afraid of the math. That math is good. Math can be good when there's a tenant who's already income. So especially in quadruplex, and you've got 3 tenants already paying, and let's say you're only approved maybe 250 and they're selling it for 550, but look at the math behind the other 3 tenants. So it could be enough to cover the mortgage, and now you're staying rent free. Think about
Yeah.
it. Free, free, free is my word for the day. Free, 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 free.
It's all about, opening up the conversation, just starting to dabble. You don't have to go in with your plan of what you want to do, but just see where you're at when the timeline kind of lays out, and what are the stepping stones to get there. It's not a one day overnight process. It's a little credit here, a little building there, and you could really, it's an accumulation. Those little things you do every day really add up. Just like they
That's
say.
true. That is so true. That is so true.
So,
And you look gorgeous, by the way. I meant to tell you. Got to give
oh,
your
well,
quick
thank
cute girl
you.
shout out. Your cute
Thank
girl
you.
on
Thank
Thursday.
you.
Yay, looking good. Like that look.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, thank you so much, Terri, for coming on today. This has been a blast.
Thank
What's the
you.
best way to people reach out to you?
Actually, I think my email is there for Harry Norman, but it's 404-822-5688 is my cell. And another email is Terri loves, with an S, real estate at gmail.com. Terri loves real estate at gmail.com. And thank you, Purse Strings, for the opportunity.
Of course. How is that email not already snagged up before? There's got to be more Terrys who love real estate out there.
I know,
But
I got it first. So I've been in the industry for a long time. So yeah, they chuckle when they see it and I mention it. So it's a great conversation piece.
you can't
I
forget
like real
it.
estate. I love it. Yes, yes. And I love all the opportunities. I mean, people, you have no idea. It's exponential what you can do with real estate. Right now, we're just like touching the surface.
Right, right. Well, thank you so much, Terri. We'll see everyone again here next week as we keep talking about, is buying home a good idea, really? So it's been fun, and we'll talk to everyone again soon. So bye now.
Bye.